Welcome back to Rich Tech. Today we're going to repair this MagSafe charger. As you can see, there is some sellotape on the cable near the connector end, and going down the wire near the base of the charger, you can see there is a masking tape wrapped around the junction where the cable meets the charger body. Now this is a 45 watt MagSafe 2 power adapter. This charger powers the Macbook Air 13-inch. If you're an owner of an Apple laptop, that's a MacBook, or you use lightning cables, you will find yourself with this kind of problem sooner rather than later. You find that these cables are weak near the joints or near the ends, and most users resort to this kind of repairs. Some use insulating tapes, some use heat shrink tubing. In this case, heat shrink tubing wouldn't be an option because it cannot pass over the T-shape of the connector. So this owner resorted to masking tape, and as you can see, the damage is very bad. The V return cable, the negative cable, is almost cut through, and the positive cable is just holding on. It may start peeling and there may be a short there, and the charger may blow up, if not blowing the charging system of the MacBook. On this other end, we have the sellotape, but what is it hiding? Voila, you can see this other end too has the rubber sheathing peeling off, and for an unknown reason, it's a chemical reaction. The rubber is just chipping off and leaving the wires exposed. Now using our meter, place it in the continuity level. We want to check if there is continuity in this cable. One wire from this meter is on the bare cable. We want to see if this cable, or the V return cable, which is the bare cable, has continuity to the ends of the connector pins. Now this is a good sign. The V return is usually connected to the outside pins, and also we can't hear any sound with the inner pins, which are the positive and the sensor pins. Now this is our charger ready for repair. As I told you, most MacBook chargers or cables have problems at the ends, and this is what we have. Now the next step is to open up this charger. Again, I've got videos showing how to open up chargers and replace casings, and these are linked in the description below. This is how this charger looks inside. We want to remove this junction. We have the two output cables from the charger itself, each one to the connector. Since we need to repair this junction, we'll cut off these wires behind the junction. Then we peel 1 millimeter off the ends of the wires. You can use wire strippers or a razor blade. I'm just using here a pair of scissors, but be careful not to pull and to dislodge the wire from the circuit of the charger. Need to be very careful here. So these ends, we are going to attach our new cable or the repaired cable. Make sure the wires don't touch. This is our charger now ready for further processing. But before we do this, we need to test the charger itself, if it is working. There is no need to work on this and then find out that the charger blew up too. And you'll find that we're doing testing at each and every step of this process, so as to ensure that our work is progressing well and we are not wasting time by repairing something which is already spoiled. I'm using an alternative cable. This is not new, to check if the charger is charging, and this one is working fine. So this is a good sign. We can proceed to repair the cable and join it to the charger body. I should emphasize here that you should be careful. This is electricity. Don't let the V return and V out cables touch, and be careful when you're dealing with these bare wires. As you can see, the ends of the wire need some repairs. This end of the charger cable will need to be cut off. I have videos showing how to repair this junction, but in this video I'm not going to repair this. I'll link a description on a video which shows how to repair that above here. But for this video I'm going to use an already prepared junction, so that we speed it up and make our life easier a bit. We need to peel off at least 1 centimeter from the end of the cable to reveal the wires inside. The wire which is insulated in white is the V out or the positive cable. The one which is not insulated, the silver cable, is the V return or the negative cable. That's how I call them. You can call them what you want. The V return is also called the ground cable. Now, using our multimeter once again, we want to check for the continuity of this cable. Now we attach one end to the negative part of the cable. The negative is the one which is showing through the body, the bare one or the silver one. Since we cut off the junction at the bottom, we want to check if the continuity is still there. First, to confirm there that the positive and the negative do not touch at any point. As you can see, I've tried touching both of the wire ends, and there is no sound, showing that there is no short in these two wires. Now I'm testing the positive cable to see if it runs all the way to the end of the connector pins. You should have continuity with the inner outer pins, if you can call them that. This second pin and this fourth pin, or the second pins from both ends. Those are the V out or the positive cables. We shouldn't have any sound with the middle or with the outer pins. So this shows that this cable is perfect. We can go ahead and repair it. Before we repair it, we should also make sure that the cable is charging. Remember, we've already tested the charger body, it's working fine, but we want to check if this cable works fine too. You may find that it's already dead, so there is no point of repairing it. So connecting to our MacBook Air and to our charger, which is now awaiting a cable. Again, being careful, positive to positive, negative to negative, we test, and this shows that our cable is working fine. And charging. Always test to avoid disappointments at the end. You need to make sure that what you're doing is worthwhile. Now let's go ahead and repair the cable. Disconnect the power from your charger. And be careful with the electricity. I cannot say that much enough. Now this junction, we would have repaired it, but we'll keep it for other project. Again, I'll link the description on how to repair this junction in the narratives below this video. You can access that, and that's for another day. But today we are going to use a ready junction, as I said earlier. Now, how do we go about repairing this? We'll need to remove the whole rubber sheathing near the end of this connector, because it's all chipping and it's not helping us. So you can either twist it round or cut it with a razor, but be careful that you do not cut the negative wires which are near the surface there. If you strip the rubber, you'll find beneath there is this shiny negative wire, but we want to pull the rubber sheathing which is still intact over the shiny wire so that it can come and complete this space. So that's what we are doing here, pulling it slowly by slowly. It is able to extend and stretch, and at the end you'll find something like this. Now at this end we need to apply some glue in order to attach that end to the connector junction and complete that repair. If you do a good job, if you apply the glue, you'll find such a nice junction. Again, after doing that, we need to test the cable if it's working, because the pulling and pushing and all those things we did to the wire could have resulted in a cut in the wire, and which would make this cable not to work. So we test again. Once we put the glue and the glue are set, let's test again and see if this cable is working. It's neat, but it needs to work. That's the main idea of this. Perfect. This is working fine. As you can see, the green means it has sensed the Macbook, or the charger is completely charged, but if not charged, it will turn to amber, showing that now the Macbook is being charged. Now this is the ready junction which I told you we have. So we pass the other end of the wire through it, of the cable. We will call it the cable. The cable contains two wires inside. The V out, which is the one with the white insulation, and the V return or ground, which is the bare one. But before we proceed, we'll need to also insulate this bare one, so that we have a professional touch to this. We add a professional touch to this. Now this is our insulation. We'll use heat shrink tubing, use the correct size, cut to size. And slide it over the bare V return or ground wire. You can use a black heat shrink tubing. It looks better. The red may confuse someone to think that this is the V out, but insulation is insulation. At the end of the day, our main purpose is to ensure that these cables do not touch. So we've added the insulation, and our cable is ready to be joined to the charger itself. If you've done a good job, this is how your cable should look. Now here we'll need a soldering bit or iron to get soldering wire and some insulation. For the insulation, we may use a heat shrink tubing again, or we may use a insulating tape. Apply some solder to the ends of the wires sticking out of the charger. You don't need a lot, but you need enough to hold the two wires together which you are going to join. Make sure it is neat. You're going to repeat this process at the cable end. While applying solder to the cable end, you also realize that the heat shrink tubing, the red insulation we put there, will also shrink and hold the wire. So you're achieving two things at the same time here. It will shrink and hold on to the wire as tightly as the white one has held on to the V out cable wire. As I said earlier, you put a generous quantity but not too much. Your aim is to be able to achieve a strong joint as you solder the wires together. Make sure the wire is covered all round with solder. Now let's match this up. The V out, which is the one which is insulated in white, will be joined to the white one, and the V return or the ground will be which is not insulated, will be connected to the red wire. You can try pulling this out after soldering to see if it's strong enough, and then cover up this joint with your insulation. If you are using heat shrink insulation, would have put the heat shrink tubing to the wire before the soldering. Because you're using insulating tape, we can do this now. Make sure you connect the right wire on the cable side to the right wire on the charger side. You don't want to mix things up at this point or at any point. You may blow up your charger or your MacBook Air. Solder the joint nicely. And cover it with insulating tape. And your joint should look like this. It is a perfect joint, well insulated. The cable is now joined to the charger body. Again, we test at every stage. Whatever you do, you test. Here we'll see if our charger now is working with the cable once we've soldered them together. And this is okay. It's charging fine. So we can proceed now and close the charger itself. We close it up, and because we have nearly opened this up, we will go ahead and open it up completely. The two halves of the cover charger, the covers of the charger come out easily, and now we have a good space to work with. We'll apply some glue, super glue, to the ends of the junction and pull it to the end of the cable. As you can see, we've already pulled it and put it in the slot where it's supposed to be on the charger cover. We'll apply super glue on the edges of this charger body and put the other half on top of it in order to seal it. Now this is a time sensitive process because the super glue is starting to set, so you need to be fast at this point. Apply or put in the clips very fast. You don't want the glue to set while this charger body is still open like this, so working very fast. Put in the clips and squeeze the charger body shut, or the two halves shut. If you do it well, you should have such a result, which is a perfect and neat joint. At this point, you can use a clamp to squeeze the two halves together and to have a neater and nicer fit. I usually squeeze it with my hand or step on it or whatever you want to do, but make sure you don't break the charger and destroy the good work you've done. But all in all, your work should look like this. Once the glue has set, the charger is now perfect. As you can see, there is no more injury to the cable. The insulation is complete. It is the same charger, but now with a new lease of life. I can't say it much enough. Test, test, test. And this charger is now perfect. This is how to repair your charger. It had some injury to the ends of the cable. Now there is no injury there. The wires are sealed, insulated. There is no wire showing, and there is no risk of shorting. At the junction near the charger body, the junction is perfect. The wire is running into the junction perfectly without any tear, and you have a perfect charger. This is how you do a repair to the ends of your cables, either the lightning cable or the charger cables.